Now, stream y'all working on my computer. It's just unbelievable. You just don't know how this thing gonna work out. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Please hit that like button. Thank y'all to my new subscribers. I really appreciate it. I'm trying to drop different topics. I'm just trying to hit everything because there's so much going on. You can't really tie yourself to one thing. Oh, shit. Oh, man. Where? Oh, okay. That's my next topic I'm about to hit. So, what up? What up? What up? Trump destroys fake news. I mean, Msnbc, they done let everybody go, and now they call MS now, racial matter without a job. Listen, that man is winning, okay? And the thing is that I don't want this to stay up here. Can I? I don't want that banner. No, I'm gonna leave it up there. But you know what? Just tell the truth. Just tell the truth, whether you like the narrative or not. Tell the truth. Fake news isn't limited to tabloids anymore. This is out from the University of Virginia. With the rise of social media, fake news is spreading faster and further than ever before with real consequences. In fact, the World Economic Forum ranks massive digital disinformation among the top five global risks. You may not be looking for fake news, but you're probably still seeing it. It's hard to avoid on social media because fake news is often designed to elicit an emotional response. It goes virally quickly, often more quickly than real news. People don't just believe fake news, they share it. That's a fact, which is what fake news creators are banking on. Whether the motives are political, humorous, or monetary, fake news writers want their lies to spread, and you can't stop them. That's a fact. Like these YouTubers on here, clickbait. The people ain't even on trial. You talking about they've been arrested, they've been indicted. No, not indicted, but they've been convicted, and it ain't even a trial. I don't even click on that stuff because I know what's going on, but people, and they share and they believe it. Chart shows mainstream news decreases from 12 million engagements from February to April to 9 million from May to July and to 7.3 million from August through Election Day. Fake news engagements rose just below 3 million engagements in February through April to just above 3 million from May to July, 8.7 from August through Election Day. Fake news is real. So, Pope Francis shock world endorses Donald Trump. That had 960,000 views. WikiLeaks confirmed Hillary sold weapons to ISIS, 789,000 views. These were all lies. Hillary's ISIS email just leaked. It's worse than you. 754,000 FBI agents suspected in Hillary email leaks. 567,000. So fake news is really a problem. It really is. And I'm gonna leave that there because I'm gonna come back. Let's get into these videos because I don't want to be. I'm so glad my computer working. I don't know what to do.
The President of the United States
This is MSNBC.
is not holding back in terms of what he thinks about a couple of MSNBC hosts. Let me play this one for you. This just came in moments ago. He's talking about two MSNBC hosts in particular. Don't forget one of them whose name I always, it just escapes my mind. Thank you. It came to me. Nicole Wallace. She hosts like a 4 o'clock show, I think, on MSNBC. She's absolutely awful on television, but this tells me not only is she bad on TV, she is just a bad person through and through. I'm going to play you what she said, but first, hear the president right now talking about how disgusting these journalists are at MSNBC.
This is a follow-up. The other night, we saw Democrats' behavior during your joint address to Congress. Yeah. Do you think it shows just how out of touch they are with the American people, especially given that 79%, according to a CBS poll, approved of your?
I love this guy. Who are you?
My name is Nick Gilbertson with Breitbart News.
I really liked your questions.
Thank you very much.
So regarding the executive order,
The answer is just, Nick, just to, and I know your name very well. Good job, you too.
Thank you.
Yeah, the answer is I thought it was very embarrassing for the Democrats what happened the other night. And that's not said for any other reason other than it's obvious, it's fact. Even CNN fake news said that. They came out and they said it. And worse than CNN is MSDNC, which is the worst. And the good news is very few people watch them anymore. They have lost such credibility. And frankly, what Nicole Wallace said, I've never been a fan of hers, and she's not very talented. But I'll tell you, what she said the other day about that young man is disgraceful. She should be forced to resign. And Rachel Maddow should be forced to resign. Nobody watches her anyway. I don't know if it's not possible they pay her as much money as I hear, but certainly she's lost all credibility, both of them. But what they said the other day, they should be forced to resign about that young person who was suffering greatly. Thank you.
Wow. Okay, so that might have actually, believe it or not, in some weird way, actually helped save.
This is Tish Regan. I like
and
her.
Rachel Maddow their jobs, because there's been a growing chorus of people now that are saying, okay, they gotta go. They gotta go. And I'm gonna play you this sound, and I think you're gonna come out exactly where I am. Like, this is not okay. Like, we have lost all level of civility. I mean, this poor kid, he's dying of brain cancer. It's 17 years old. I want you to see it. Here we go. Do we have it? Here we go.
But I think this was a lesson in finding one thing that you let yourself feel. And I let myself feel joy about DJ. And I hope he's alive for another, 95 years, right? And I hope he lives and the life he wants to live. He wants to be a cop. He knows what he wants to do. And maybe when you have childhood cancer, that crystallizes for you. And I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer. But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide. And I hope he isn't one who has to testify against the people who carried out acts of seditious conspiracy and then live to see Donald Trump pardon those people.
Oh my gosh. She wants to add certain kinds of evidence. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Guys, this is their future, right? I mean, is this really where I'm sort of speechless? And I've heard it before, so I shouldn't be speechless, but I'm so struck by the lack of humanity.
Facts.
In this woman. To say anything like that, I mean, she is clearly not just a terrible host, but a really bad person, a really, really, really bad person. I'm stunned. I really, really am stunned. I do want to say thank you. I'm seeing some of your comments here about her. I see we have not too many fans for one Nicole Wallace here, Roberto Basilius. Oh, thank you so much. So that's just a compliment for me. I'll take that. Roberto, thank you so much. I so appreciate it. And I love that you love the program. I do believe I saw one of you guys actually talking about Nicole, and you had absolutely no use for her. Listen, you can't
Facts.
be
You know what?
so
I'm gonna think about to
lacking
change
in
this title.
just kindness. Right? Like,
No, I
how
think
is
I'm gonna
anybody
leave
like,
it.
she's a bad person. I mean, that is my takeaway. She's not just a bad journalist. Sucks on television. Okay, I mean, she has no person. She's awful. Okay, she's nothing to look at. She's got not a lot of intelligence there. She says nothing insightful, and then we learn that she's a miserable, you know what. She needs to be fired. I mean, listen, I wouldn't put up with this if I were MSNBC. There's no way. They have a new boss there right now. They're getting rid of all kinds of people. They got rid of one Joy Reid, did they not, who cried on her way out the door? I think it's time to get rid of this woman. I think it's also time to get rid of one Rachel Maddow, because I don't think we need to go down any conspiratorial rabbit holes anymore. Let her do that on her own little thing. All right? These are not people that are helpful in contributing to the conversation. Mr. Know-It-All, thank you so much for the generosity. Much appreciated. And I think we got one more that I wanted to give a shout out to.
Yeah, I agree. Get rid of all of them. Just tell the truth. It's simple. If you are a journalist, you are not supposed to be biased. You can have your opinion and you can say, my opinion is this, this, and that. That's fine. That's your opinion. But when you're reporting the news, you're supposed to do it without bias. I did that. I'm about to get rid of this. I'm about to get rid of that. Oh, and I'm about to get rid of this too. Didn't I do leave in the US and I didn't finish? Let me get to this next video. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Oh no, no, they go to another topic. Here's the view.
A congressional foreign
This
relations
is talks and
subcommittee was
politics.
adjourned abruptly after the chairman refused to properly address Delaware Congresswoman Sarah McBride. Take a look.
I now recognize the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat your introduction again, please?
Yes, we have set the standard on the floor of the House, and I'm simply.
What is that standard, Mr. Chairman? Would you repeat what you just said when you introduced a duly elected representative from the United States of America? Please.
I will. The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Mr. Chairman, you are out of order. Mr. Chairman, have you no decency? I mean, I've come to know you a little bit, but this is not decent.
We will continue this.
You will not continue it with me unless you introduce a duly elected representative the right way.
This hearing is adjourned.
That's right. So the people of Delaware voted for Congresswoman McBride. So why is it so difficult for people to understand that she was elected by her constituents? They know Sarah McBride. So I say, if you're so concerned about protecting who you consider women, why don't you spend less time monitoring bathrooms and address the material mortality crisis in this country when it comes to when it comes to Black women? Why don't you end the 15% gender gap? Make sure women have access to health care and contraception. Investigate cases of missing or murdered Indigenous women. If you care that much that you got to do all that.
Because, and I'll quote the famous line of a movie, it's a mine, baby, it's a mine. That's why it's Mr. McBride.
Yeah, because dude looks like a lady.
I just thought it was hilarious. And the guy, I forget his name, the congressman in the chair. But you know what? It was hilarious. But McBride, I'll call him a McBride. He gave it right back. He just said, madam. You know what I mean? It was a hilarious moment. It was a moment.
Yeah, this is pop and politics.
Sensitive congressman sitting, you won't do this, whatever. I thought it was just a hilarious event. Now, a little bit later on in that clip in The View, some of y'all gonna be upset with me, but I don't care. It's never stopped me before. When Alyssa was talking, her point was very valid, that they're wasting this time when there were genuine issues to debate. And I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But overall, this was just something funny.
The best thing about it was that, what you were saying is the hearing did not progress. Right? Who benefits from that?
Nobody.
Who benefits from that?
Nobody.
So we're arguing over this dude dressed like a lady from a little tiny half of a piece of the state, Delaware, right?
Right.
Make your point, ma'am, sir, McBride, and have a seat so we can continue with the people's business. That's what's more important. But in the meantime, while they're arguing over dude's a lady or not, the work's not getting done. The reason why everybody was elected, the work is not getting done because he's trying to make.
I am a man. Exactly. He probably.
Do I want to, Oh, you know what? I think I do want to play this because it was.
You guys come and sit down and shut the door. Things have just.
Oh shoot!
Foreign Relations
Let me
Subcommittee
get
was
here.
adjourned.
Equal pay and all of this stuff was really ridiculous.
Foolishness.
But but your free has to be more balanced. 75 something pounds. You should. Going on 5 additional years after the baby. Baby's walking around, sometimes driving. And
See, I thought it was a viewer.
Underlying health conditions in our community that are major factors in these speaking. Exactly. Because he knows
TikTok dances and have a seat so we can continue with the people's.
Yes, I'm just gonna get rid of that. So apparently they blasting Whoopi for pushing the transgender ideology on The View. Well, The View is canceled. Thank God. I thought that was an awful show. But yeah, fake news is. This is Tish Regan again. I love her.
These are pretty impressive. These producer price numbers. I got to tell you, I'm a little bit surprised because I would have thought that you would have still had the effects of inflation seeping into the economy. But yesterday you got the CPI numbers, the consumer price index numbers, showing an increase of 2.8% in prices year over year, which is, not that far out of line with what the Fed is usually shooting for, which is 2 to 2.5%. So that was decent. Everybody thought it was going to be 3% or above. And Donald Trump is making the point that one of the reasons you're seeing this low inflation effective already is because of all the changes that he's implementing vis-a-vis regulation within the energy sector. I want to go to Cnbc. They were really excited. Rick Santelli, whom I've known a long time and used to work with over there, and he's really into the bond market, okay? And so he lives for these inflation reports. I mean that in a really good way. And he was like, wow, when he saw this PPI number today, because producer prices, which are really indicative of what's to come for consumer prices. If producers are paying more for things, then they tend to pass those costs on to consumers. He was blown away by the number. Let's watch.
The headline expecting up 0.3, up 0, goose egg, unch. Boy, that is progress. We haven't had a number that low. Well, we equaled it in July of last year when we had another 0. To find a lower number, you're back to October of 23 at -0.4. Strip out the all-important food and energy, down 1/10. Down 1/10. That's 0.4 lower than expectations. Down 1/10 also equals July of last year. Find a lower number, you're going back to COVID times, April of 2020.
Okay, so good news. Donald
April
Trump
2020,
alluding
before
to this
Biden
in his
Harris
discussion there with
destroyed the
Prime
shit.
Minister of Ireland just yesterday, talking about oil prices and how they're coming down and how this is pretty beneficial, right, to the overall economy. It's interesting because you do have a market that's lower. I actually bought more today. I'm a long-term
You know
investor. We
what?
can talk
And we're
about that.
going to go ahead and get right. So CNBC was just outdone with the inflation numbers. Food is still high, but I'm so glad at least gas done went down. What's the next one? Oh, 316. Hold on. And I'm going to bed early today, for real. Because I've been waking up every day at 11, and I get up like at 8 or 9. And I'm like, and I've been staying up to 4. I got to get, can't keep doing that one.
You love.
Yeah. Looking for this video. All right, hold on. Where is it at? Okay, here we go. Got it. This is
Think about
MSNBC. This is Trish. She stay on top of this.
Statement, and it started out, I'm going to play it for you. Maybe you've already seen it before, but I think it's worth listening to even again, because she starts out kind of seeming as though she's a decent person. And then it takes this twisted, weird turn. And this is actually what I believe is going to cost her job. Now that Comcast is taking a look at this and they're saying, hey, do we really need these liabilities, especially when their ratings are not doing well? Her ratings have plunged some 35% since the election on this one particular show. I mean, that's really, really bad. Fox is getting like 3 times the viewers. And even though we know cable's dead, I mean, Fox is kind of the last holdout, because I think people are looking at it and saying, okay, well, there's some truth there. I know we don't necessarily have a lot of Fox fans in this audience, but it is what it is. And I think they're playing the game to a certain extent and at least trying to provide greater clarity. Here's Nicole Wallace ratings looking just dismal. Again, down 35% since she made these comments about this poor 13-year-old kid. If you're wondering what the comments were, here we go.
But I think this was a lesson in finding one thing that you let yourself feel. And I let myself feel.
We already seen that. I'm gonna go
DJ,
past this a
and I
little
hope
bit.
suicide. And I hope he isn't one who has to testify against the people who carried out acts of seditious conspiracy and then lived to see Donald Trump pardon those people.
I'm sorry, that is like a bizarre turn. Like, she does not belong on air. She really doesn't. I mean, that is a terrible thing to say. Like, terrible. I mean, I think even Rachel might have been taken back just a little bit by that. I mean, to try and equate, I'm not even going to use the words, but to equate what she equated with, and this 13-year-old who's a brain cancer survivor. I mean, I'm like, who is she? And I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. You know what? If you don't have any empathy, you really shouldn't be doing that for a job. You shouldn't be in politics either. This is the entire problem with the Democrat Party. They have no empathy for anyone else, only themselves. And they're so power hungry that they keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. Guys, you're not going to be able to do it anymore. Guess what? Your NGO money is gone, okay?
That's a fact.
USAID, gone. 83% of all of those programs were just cut this morning after they assessed them over the last 6 weeks. And now, Stacey Abrams, what are you going to do? You don't have $2 billion hanging around to buy everybody new appliances.
Yep, I'm going to do that.
You guys might actually have to shape up the economy. You might actually have to get people working again. Because the DEI stuff is over, done, kaput. Okay, even Disney knows it. Disney getting rid of its DEI programs, 2 of them they had. Goldman Sachs getting rid of its DEI programs. Boeing got rid of it earlier. And now, chickens are coming home to roost. I mean, we've already seen with Disney's stock price, and I know, I'm looking at the chat here, I know that Don Baca has absolutely no use for Disney and its stock price because, of course, it's gotten, cut in half over the last 5 years.
Hold on, I'm gonna let this go.
Does their entertainment division stand a chance? My argument on this is no, because I think you have too many people that are too wedded to a particular viewpoint, and until you really clean house, you're going to be stuck with it.
I'm not gonna worry about that. Shit, hold on.
Now it's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's begin with an important message from this young woman who probably doesn't identify as one.
Hey, I'm here and I'm genderqueer, and we all need to remember that free Gaza, trans rights are human rights.
God, I hope that's parody. Now to the Democrats' love of criminals, gangbangers in the country illegally. They're now singing songs about this bizarro infatuation.
Kill Mars is our neighbor. You can't have him drunk. No! Kill Mars is our neighbor. You can't have him drunk.
It's quite catchy, isn't it?
Okay,
Let's check in on actor.
let me get out of this because that is not. But anyway, after she said those remarks about DJ, the young man who wants to be a police officer who had a cancer, the ratings dropped dramatically at Msnbc. Dramatically. I'm not sure if she lost her job or not. Okay, we go with that. Let me give a pair of blue tools. Hold on, I'm trying to find if I had it. All right, now come on. I just had. Okay, here we got that. I'm going to use that, but it's another one. Okay, here you go. But it's more because I got more. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Let me make sure I got the first one. Okay, we got the view. Oh, we got quite a few. And now, you know what I'm really pissed off about? Now you have a judge that blocked taking the unaccompanied minors back to their home country. They need to be with their parents. Well, we gonna keep them here and still abuse them? The fuck going on? Oh, I can't wait to get off in that. Okay, I think that is it. Let me get back. I just want to make sure I didn't have when I start. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. This is the view.
Nerds that own the politician. All these tech nerds that want to build robots because they don't know how to talk to hot women.
We played a clip, was it last Friday when I had Jillian Michaels on the show? We played a couple of clips of comedian Bill Burr. Bill Burr was kind of an anti-woke, kind of edgy comic over the years. He now has gone the other way, where he's going woke and he's going for all of this crazy leftist stuff. And as you start doing that, if you give the machine what it wants, the machine starts giving you what you want. And that's
This is the Rubin report.
and everything else. So he goes full scripted nonsense. This is actually from a couple.
Set up to be bribed, and in the end, they're all worth like $50 to $100 million. And everybody thinks one side is better than the other. You know, I don't know. It's a weird time, but I just feel like someone needs to bring the boiling water down to a simmer, and everybody on both sides. Like if you watch CNN, Fox, you go online, or you listen to politicians, it's all and then you walk out on the street, someone's like, "Hey, how you doing?" You're like, "Good." So I don't think they're living in like a reality.
But is there anybody getting your ire up these days more than usual?
Nerds.
Yeah.
The nerds that own the politician. All these tech nerds that want to build robots because they don't know how to talk to hot women.
Yeah.
They're gonna take over the world. They're gonna take over. They are literally gonna replace us. We're like beta right now, and they're coming out with like the VCR. And I think Elon has got the rockets going because they realize there's other Earths out there. Yeah. And they're gonna trash this one, and because they don't have any concern for it, and they're gonna move on to the next Earth. And you know, everybody's gonna be standing down here with your blue and red ties, going, "Wait a minute, I was on your side." And they're just gonna leave.
There's nothing funny about it, but you can see, oh, can you tell us someone that's wrangling your ire? And then what it really is just a segue to bring on a comedian who used to be funny, who's now giving the machine what it wants. And what does the machine want? Go after Elon. That's exactly what it is. And as far as going to other planets, yeah, that's actually kind of cool. And it's Elon doing more for the environment right here than Greta Thunberg or the rest of you harping lunatics combined.
That was on The View. This is NPR, and we were giving them all this taxpayer money.
And we're back.
This is Trish
With
Regan.
Andrea this time. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Trish Regan Show. I am Trish. Good to have you here. Really good to have you here.
Like there's an old saying, like history is written by the victors. It's like, well, yes, but not if your enemies are still alive and have a lot of time on their hands to edit Wikipedia.
History is written by the people who can harness the most editors.
Yeah, I mean, the losers just got a lot of time on their hands, and
Let me get to that. That's not what I wanted.
The Intel hearings, you think that's a coincidence? I don't. I think it's very.
Watching my phone, realizing, oh my God, this might be real. I think Pete.
This is the lawsuit.
Okay, this is. Oh, wait. That's the lawsuit. Wait. Maybe I won't.
That's being brought by an American oversight group against a little national ID card.
No, I'm gonna let that go. I'm not playing that. We're gonna let that one go. Here's NPR and PBS.
The United States is $36 trillion in debt. In fiscal year 2024, the government spent over $1.8 trillion more than it took in. And in fiscal year 2025, the interest on our debt is expected to exceed $1 trillion. As we continue investigating waste, fraud, and abuse, and we can look no further than the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the LGBTQ indoctrination of our children, the systematic racism narrative, and the support for censorship being pushed by the heads of NPR and PBS are just several of the many abuses of taxpayer dollars. And if you are one of the select few who might support such content, you can personally support and fund it with your own money through private donations, because the reality is, the United States of America is broke and can't afford it. And after all, PBS and NPR are already fundraising off of this committee hearing. The American people are closely following along today in this long-awaited hearing to hear the case for why Americans' hard-earned tax dollars should continue for public broadcasting. I think from what we have heard here today, the American people will not continue to allow such propaganda to be funded through the federal government with their hard-earned tax dollars. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting that we give over $500 million to no longer serves the public. It serves a narrow audience of wealthy liberal elites who are out of touch with everyday Americans. Not only have the times changed and the American people who once needed these outlets can now access the news anywhere at any time, but the content that is being put out through these state-sponsored outlets is so radical, it is brainwashing the American people and, more significantly, American children with un-American, anti-family, pro-crime fake news. The American people do not support their taxpayer dollars going to NPR articles like, "How is sex determined? Scientists say it's complicated," which discusses how biological sex is not limited to male or female.
Matter of fact, let me put PBS in the
stories on
title.
crime are rife with misinformation and racism, or about how birds and trees are racist. Over a 7-month period, the Media Research Center discovered the PBS NewsHour gave over 90%. As mentioned earlier, PBS was the outlet that featured the child predator drag queen on the education show for kids ages 3 to 8 years old.
That's a damn
shame. And to clarify the record, because our witness, Ms. Kerger, lied under oath and said it wasn't featured on PBS, this show was aired on PBS on April 1st, 2021, and we will take a look at this video right now. We're using a TV today because our audio system is having problems. Let's go ahead and watch this video.
ready? Gonna start with our hips. The hips off the dragon go swish, swish, swish. Swish, swish, swish. The shoulders off the dragon go shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. The mouth of the dragon goes blah, blah, blah. All through the town. So, get your singing voice up.
Now, how is that educational?
Swish,
How the
swish,
fuck is that
swish.
educational?
The shoulders go shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. That's repulsive. That's not what children ages 3 to 8 should ever be watching. A grown biological man posing as a woman. And by the way, Miss Kerger, that was aired on April 1st, 2021. And then something happened. It wasn't an accident. And it wasn't just for a brief time that it was up. It was aired April 1st. And then somehow it expired May 24th. Later on, it was taken down. I wonder why. Wonder why that was taken down. Another egregious example includes back in 2010, PBS's Travis Smiley stated that Christians blow up people every single day. Haven't seen that ever happen in my life. And today, if you look on NPR's website, there is still zero mention of any negative coverage of any Democrat today. And trust us, there are more than plenty of examples to pull from. How about a member from this committee making fun of the governor of Texas for having a disability and living his life in a wheelchair, Ms. Marr? From headlines to podcasts to documentaries to children's programming, NPR and PBS-based reporting. The American people have woken up to this nonsense and blatant disregard for truth, and truth matters. And they will not put up with it any longer. Contrary to the beliefs of the head of NPR, Ms.
I'm
Mark,
live.
truth is
I'll call
not
you back.
subjective. It's actually very important.
No.
And there are not multiple truths. There's just one. For a civilization to exist, objective truth must exist. It must be embraced. It must be protected. It is not a distraction, and despite many attempts to whitewash it, truth will prevail. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting is using taxpayer dollars to actively suppress the truth, suppress diverse viewpoints, and produce some of the most outlandish, ludicrous content. After listening to what we've heard today, we will be calling for the complete and total defund and dismantling of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Here's how it works in America every single day, private businesses operate on their own without government funding.
Facts.
I believe that you all can hate us on your own dime. With that and without objection, all members have 5 legislative days within which to submit materials and additional written questions for witnesses, which will be forwarded to the witnesses. If there is no further business without objection, the subcommittee stands adjourned.
Facts. Why should we be funding that bullshit? And they not. And they going out of business.
So in 2021, he's in this country illegally. He's caught and released as opposed to being taken in.
Where is that coming from?
Glad you brought up a point that's been mentioned
Okay.
a couple of times already at the early start of this hearing about rural and remote.
Oh, let me put my
And
chat.
I have
Where are
to
my
tell the story.
comments?
When I graduated from college
Okay,
with a
here we
degree in
go.
agriculture, I went back to rural Monroe County, Kentucky, and worked on a farm, my farm, for 5 years, full time. farm to this day, but full time. I was in a tractor, sometimes 10, 12, 14 hours a day. And I listened to the radio. The only radio station I could get that had news was public radio. So I listened to as many hours of public radio as anyone on this panel, I can assure you. And it was a great service. That was 30 some years ago. Today, in that same remote area, I mean, you've got Sirius XM, you've got podcasts, there's internet access now. There's a whole menu of media options now. So, but over time, and I still occasionally listen to NPR because I just want to hear what they have to say. And I don't even recognize the station anymore. It's not news. I feel like it's propaganda. I feel like there's disinformation every time I listen to NPR. And, you know, a media entity like Msnbc or Huffington Post that, in my opinion, consistently spews disinformation, they can do that. They're a private company. But NPR gets federal funds. And you know, I have a problem with that, because if people in Alaska, if all they have is public radio, then all they know is what these headlines say.
Exactly.
And they're wrong about COVID-19. And the headlines in the background don't have time to go over all these headlines that are wrong. About Russian collusion, wrong.
Hold on. Oh, shit. Right, and y'all lied about it.
We went through in this committee during the Biden investigation, which, by the way, ended with Joe Biden's last act as president of the United States, pardoned his entire family preemptively for an 11-year period, which just so happened to be the 11-year period that this committee investigated the Biden, that we had subpoenaed bank records. I don't think NPR reported about the pardons, but they reported a lot about how there was no evidence of any wrongdoing and things that just weren't true. In fact, there's a story, NPR, lawmaker leading Hunter Biden House investigation, accused of owning a shell company. Well, that's me. Miss Mayor, are you familiar with that story that NPR wrote about me at the height of the Biden investigation, when you all were disputing every aspect of our investigation that is 100% factual? We have hundreds of pages of evidence, hundreds of pages of bank records, hundreds of pages of emails. Do you remember the story that NPR wrote about me saying I had a shell company?
Congressman, I was not at NPR at the time, and I'm unfamiliar with the story.
Where do you get your sources on something like that? That's a very serious accusation, because we're investigating a president and his family who had 28 shell companies.
Right.
I have an LLC, had 5 properties in it. It's in my financial disclosure form. I've gone into great detail, given lots of interviews, but people that listen to NPR, they're totally disinformed on the truth. And you know, I have a problem with that, because you get federal funds.
Right.
And I do believe there was a role for public radio 30 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. But because of technology today, I don't think there's a role for public radio anymore. And I think you've abused the privilege that you had with receiving federal funds. Because these headlines here are not true. This is disinformation on some huge topics. Do you want to dispute anything that I said in the remaining 30 seconds?
Thank you, Congressman. First of all, I want to recognize your concerns. One of the first things that I did in coming in May was to beef up our editorial standards. I directed my editor-in-chief, who, by the way...
Why is NPR even doing editorial?
I'm so sorry.
Do editorials?
I don't mean editorial in terms of opinion editorial.
Do you even need opinion? What does it matter with the opinion? If you're a federally funded entity that's supposed to provide the news, can you not provide the news?
Of course,
fair and balanced?
Of course, Congressman. I mean editorial standards for our journalism was to beef up our editorial practices, bringing in more editors to make sure that we have more points of view reflected in every story. I've engaged in a number of actions.
And my time's expired. I've lost confidence in public radio. I don't think, Madam Chair, they should get a penny of federal fund. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And that's why, and you have not. All you have to do, if you are, hey Jessica, how are you? If you cannot be you can't be biased when you are a journalist. You cannot. You can say if you're doing an editorial or my opinion, that's different. But when you are just tell the truth, and that's what the problem has been with the fake news is disinformation. Just tell the truth. And that's why PBS, NPR lost their public funding. They're going out of business, as they should.
Chair, Ms. Maher, who is Uri Berliner?
Mr. Berliner is a former senior editor,
That's all?
a former senior business editor for NPR.
How long do you work at NPR?
I believe he was there just over 25 years.
25 years? Award-winning journalist? Did he win any awards?
Our time to
Peabody Award, that's pretty important, isn't it?
That is
A pretty distinguished journalist, right?
Certainly.
And he wrote a long story about what you do at NPR. Is NPR biased?
Congressman, I have never seen any instance of political bias determining editorial decisions. No.
Well, Mr. Berliner, in his story last year, wrote,
I don't know about that. I haven't heard about that.
NPR.
I don't know.
87 registered Democrats, 0 Republicans. Is that accurate?
We do not track the numbers or the voter registration, but I find that
As an award-winning journalist who worked 25 years at NPR, Mr. Berliner, was he lying when he wrote that?
I am not presuming such. I just we don't track that information about our journalists.
87 to 0, and you're not biased.
I think that is concerning.
You're very biased. Very biased.
It wasn't 44-43. It wasn't 60-27. It wasn't 70-17. It wasn't even 80-7. It was 87 Democrats, 0 Republicans, and you say NPR is not biased. How about the big stories over the last few years? According to Mr. Berliner, again, he wrote on the Trump-Russia story, he wrote at NPR.
And his name was Nosy. Oh, wow. That's funny.
Hitched our wagon to Trump's most visible antagonist, Representative Adam Schiff, and he said they interviewed him 25 times. Is that accurate?
I was not there at the time, but those numbers sound accurate.
Yes. Those sound accurate. But then he said when the Mueller report came out, and Robert Mueller said he found no evidence of collusion, he said Russiagate faded from our programming. Is that accurate?
Again, I was not there at the time. I couldn't say.
You couldn't say?
I was not at NPR at the time.
You didn't prepare for that? You knew we were going to ask you about this guy, didn't you? It's come up like 6,000 times already in the hearing.
I just couldn't say whether it faded from our coverage, sir.
How about this story? October 2020, the New York Post had the Hunter Biden laptop story, and one of those editors, I guess one of those 87 Democrat editors, said this: we don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories. We don't want to waste listeners and readers' times on stories that are just pure distractions. Was that a pure distraction story?
Our current editorial leadership believes that was a mistake, as do I.
Yeah, the whole country knows that was a mistake.
Facts, it was.
Impacted the election, or I think it certainly impacted the election. How about the COVID origin story? That's a pretty big story too, right? Mr. Berliner said, we became fervent members of the team Natural Origin, even declaring that the lab leak was debunked by scientists. Turns out, though, the lab leak is what most people think actually caused the COVID virus.
And it did.
Sorry, question there.
There is. You guys were 0 for 3 on the three of the biggest stories in the last 5 years. You guys were 0 for 3, and yet you maintain that NPR is not biased?
Congressman, I do not believe we are politically biased. No, we are a nonpartisan organization.
Nonpartisan organization. What's happening to your listeners over the last 5 years? Went up, down?
They gone.
It has gone up and down and is now going back up.
I wouldn't doubt that, Jessica.
5 years ago it was at 60 million. And you said in your opening statement, I think 43 million.
That's correct.
So 43 million now, and it was at 60 million 5 years ago. I can do some math. That looks like it went down.
And is now going back up.
It's now going back up?
Yes, it is.
How much has it went back up?
It's gone up a couple of millions over the past year.
So you went from 60 million to 41 million. Now you're back up to 43 million.
In a year's time, I'm very proud of that growth, sir.
Okay, you're proud of that growth. Okay. But over 5 years, it's went down 18 million.
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Should taxpayers subsidize NPR?
I believe that taxpayers subsidize local stations, sir. That is the vast majority of what
I thought you said you got 11 million from Corporation of Public Broadcasting, which is taxpayer funded directly to you, right?
That is to support the public.
And then
radio
local
satellite
stations get it from the Corporation of Public Broadcasting, yeah, right? They get taxpayer.
Well, that's why you, NPR and PBS lost their funding, as they should. Just tell the truth. Simple. Tell the truth to the American people so they can stop believing all this bullshit. Because they don't read, they don't research shit, and they definitely don't read.
NPR fancies itself as a nonpartisan news outlet, public information outlet. Even says that we should consider all things. All things are considered, yet their history of political bias has shown that there are a number of things they have not considered. They asked us not to consider that the Hunter Biden laptop was real. They dismissed what was always the most probable theory of the COVID lab leak from Wuhan. They interviewed Russia collusion hoaxer Adam Schiff 25 times, who claimed to have a vault of information in his office leading to the impeachment of President Trump, which of course we now know was all fraudulent. I'd like to submit for the record an article by Uri Berlinger. I've been at NPR for 25 years. Here's how we lost America's trust.
Without objection.
So NPR, unfortunately, has lost much of the audience that they used to have, and now they have a very partisan audience because of this. Who do they bring in to fix it? They bring in Ms. Maher, who has a history of commentary of promoting Marxist ideology, including critical theory. Said we should not use the terms boy or girl, has called our president a deranged racist sociopath, and said that our reverence for the truth has become a distraction that is preventing us from finding consensus and getting important things done. And one could look at that and think that maybe, in your view, promoting groupthink is more important than finding the truth. I thought we liked diversity of ideas, especially, and that as an online encyclopedia.
And that's why you lost your funding.
That you used to manage, activism was more important than accuracy. Now, I had an uncle who used to say that you should never let the truth get in the way of a good story. And while that was humorous when we were talking about weekend fishing expeditions, when we're talking about news and information and encyclopedias and things that are of national importance, I find that very troubling. Now you are here managing NPR, which is in part federally funded. Can we expect that you will bring the same lack of reverence for truth to your management of NPR?
Thank you, Congressman. First of all, I do want to say that NPR acknowledges that we were mistaken in failing to cover the Hunter Biden laptop story more aggressively and sooner. Our current editorial leadership,
Wuhan,
we recognize that we were reporting at the time, but we acknowledge that the new CIA evidence is worthy of coverage and have covered it.
What have you done to clean up the bias before? You mentioned.
Okay, Jessica.
What are you doing to clean up and make sure that we have?
Can you hit the like
Absolutely.
button for me,
Congressman,
please?
As I mentioned, I came in May. Mr. Berliner published his story 2 weeks into my tenure regarding stories that had happened prior. I wish that I had had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Berliner. I would have loved to have had him engage and come back to us with some suggestions as to what we could do editorially in order to address what he perceived as bias.
Now you've had a long history, including the thing that I mentioned about lack of reverence for truth. And how reverence for truth, you've even talked about the First Amendment kind of getting in the way of what you wanted to get done. And then you're wanting us to believe that NPR is now taking this non-biased approach. I mean, where was the come to Jesus moment for you, I guess, that has turned you around and that we can trust the American taxpayer dollars with your leadership of NPR?
I so appreciate the opportunity to perhaps clarify some things. My talk about truth was really referencing the way that people use truth to refer to belief as opposed to facts. And my encouragement was that we focus on facts. With regards to the First Amendment.
That's not what your comment said. Your comment said that truth was getting in the way of getting things done, and that you were prioritizing what you wanted to get done.
That's what you said.
And that's really unfortunate. I want to go to a different context because you're allowed to have your political opinion. Any news organization it should be going after the truth. That's what we want and expect out of news organizations. But certainly a media platform can have whatever opinion it wants in a free society. The question for us today as a committee is whether or not the taxpayer should be forced to pay for this kind of thing.
Hell no.
Mr. Gonzalez,
No.
I wanted to get your take on this about why the corporate public broadcasting is it still relevant today? I mean, we're in a different context than we were in the 60s, where maybe not every home had a television. Now, many of them have multiple televisions, and certainly most have a screen in their pocket most times during the day. I have 3 here on my desk. And so it seems like we're in a different context of where could we possibly get the news today or information? Could you speak to the importance or lack thereof of the Corporation of Public Broadcasting in the context of where we are today in society?
Yeah, right. When it came on after the passage of the 67 Public Broadcasting Act in the early 70s, there were only 3 networks. We had Cronkite, Reasoner, and the other guy. And PBS added by a third the number of networks that we had. That's not the case today. And as far as education, which has been diminished, and by the way, I believe that Sesame Street was sold to HBO. But as far as the educational value, we have an unending stream of educational content online. I could reel off a number of websites.
Okay, we're gonna let that go because you talking too much and you just lying.
Oh, Grayson.
Mm-mm.
Now recognize Mike Gonzalez for his opening statement.
Thank you, Chairwoman Taylor Green, Ranking Member Lynch, for allowing me to appear before you today. My name is Mike Gonzalez. I'm a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation. The views expressed are my own and should not be construed as representing any official position of the Heritage Foundation. Before joining Heritage 16 years ago, I was a journalist for many years. I worked in Latin America, Asia, and Europe, traveled with the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, was arrested in Panama, witnessed China's takeover of Hong Kong, and covered the stock market for the Wall Street Journal. I have even covered high school sports. I know that journalists can keep their prejudices in check. That is, if they want to. This ability to give all sides a hearing becomes an even more serious
Facts,
obligation
if they want to.
when taxpayers are coerced to pay for you. Yet NPR, PBS, and the other state broadcasters refuse to abide by the simple code of decency.
Facts.
For decades, they've asked for more money while telling conservatives to get lost. But the nation today is in a very different place, with $36 trillion in debt. And more importantly, we're seeing not just a shift in our cultural vibe, but a shift in societal paradigms.
Facts.
With their egregious bias, NPR and PBS have violated the public trust. Public media needs to be defunded, and the CPB needs to be dissolved. It's a matter of simple fairness.
I agree. I agree. You ain't got to say nothing else. It needs to be defunded, and it has been. For your biasness. And that's not a word.
Thank you, Chairwoman Green, and I apologize. I'm getting over a cold, so I'm losing my voice here. Ms. Marr, I want to start with you. Just generally, would you say you would generally agree or disagree with the following statement? The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles.
I would not say I agree with that.
You're not. That's good to hear. It's interesting because a lot of your thinking, as expressed by your public statements, is deeply infused with economic and cultural Marxism. Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
It has evolved. Why did you tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said You took a day off to fully read the case for reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
I apologize. I don't recall that I did.
Okay.
I no doubt that your tweet there is correct, but I don't recall that.
Okay. Do you believe that white people inherently feel superior to other races?
I do not.
You don't. You tweeted something to that effect. You said, I grew up feeling superior. How white of me. Why did you tweet that?
I think I was probably reflecting on what it was to grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
It sounds like you're saying that white people feel superior.
I don't believe that anybody feels that way, sir. I was just reflecting on my own experiences.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I've never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of us, yes, America, yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt, yes, reparations, yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted. Okay, how much reparations have you personally paid?
Sir, I don't believe that I've ever paid reparations.
Okay, it's just for everybody else.
I'm not asking anyone.
Seems to be what you're suggesting. Do you believe that looting is morally wrong?
I believe that looting is illegal, and I refer to it as counterproductive. I think it should be prosecuted.
Do you believe it's morally wrong, though?
Of course.
Of course. Then why did you refer to it as counterproductive? A very different way to describe it.
It is both morally wrong and counterproductive, as well as being.
You tweeted, "It's hard to be mad about protests," in reference to the BLM protests, not prioritizing the private property of a system of oppression. You didn't condemn the looting. You said that it was counterproductive. NPR also promoted a book called In Defense of Looting. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
I'm unfamiliar with that book, sir, and I don't believe that was at my time at NPR.
You read that book.
I don't believe that I did read that book, sir.
Do you think that a few years ago, NPR educated America about, quote, the whole community of genderqueer dinosaur enthusiasts? Do you think that that's an appropriate use of tax dollars?
I was not at NPR at the time, sir.
That's not the question, though. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of our tax dollars?
I think our tax dollars that we use are to be able to provide a wide range of...
I'll take that as a yes. You do believe that that's appropriate. Your health advisor at NPR also stated in an interview that, quote, fear of fatness is more harmful than actual fat. Would you like to explain how fear of fatness is more harmful than actual fat? That's an editorial at NPR.
I am not familiar with the editorial, and I don't believe that was published during my time here.
It's called Diet Culture is Everywhere. Here's how to fight it. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
I think any reporting on health is an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars, yes.
And you think that editorializing that fat is not unhealthy is appropriate?
I don't know what that article is, sir, and I'm not familiar with it, so I couldn't say.
Fake news. Do you think that basic accommodations like doorways or seat belts represent, quote, latent fat phobia?
I don't have an opinion.
That's also from NPR. Do you think civility is racist?
No, sir.
No. Your outlet ran an article entitled, quote, when civility is used as a cudgel against people of color. That was on All Things Considered. Would you like to explain?
I'm not on the editorial side, sir. I'm not familiar with that story.
You talk about how NPR is news. This is editorialization, and I'll read it. For many people of color in the United States, civility isn't so much social lubricant as it is a vehicle for containing them, preventing social mobility, and preserving the status quo. This is garbage. I'll spend all of my time doing everything I can to ensure you guys never get another dollar of taxpayer funding. This is complete garbage. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Damn.
Mr. Gill, I now recognize.
And they don't get no money. I ain't playing with these people. They not playing. This is what real leadership looks like.
I'm Matt Gelka in Washington, where the two biggest public broadcasters in the country could be on the chopping block for federal funds. Republicans in Congress want to cut funding to America's biggest public media outlets, a decades-long effort that could be a reality with control of Washington. They brought in the heads of both PBS and NPR to defend why they should continue to receive taxpayer dollars and accuse the broadcasters of bias and indoctrination.
NPR and PBS
And
have
they are.
become radical left-wing echo chambers for a narrow audience of mostly wealthy, white, urban liberals and progressives who generally look down on and judge rural America.
Billionaire Elon Musk, who spearheads the Department of Government Efficiency, has called for NPR to be defunded. Both NPR and PBS get money.
As they should. I want to make sure I finished up this guy. I did not know I had all this. Let me see how long this is.
Why did you call President Trump a fascist and a deranged racist sociopath in 2020?
Congressman, I appreciate the opportunity to address this. I regret those tweets. I would not tweet them again today.
It's unfortunate that NPR ignored the Hunter Biden laptop story, but y'all did talk quite a bit about the debunked Russia collusion.
I would love to say that we actually believe we made a mistake on the Hunter Biden laptop story.
You think?
Let's not talk
You
about this.
think?
House members Michael Cloud of Texas and Eric Burlison of Missouri both were at the DOJ subcommittee hearing. Gentlemen, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it very, very much. Michael, let me start with you. I mean, I don't know what the reason is really to have whatever the money is, $500, $600 million a year. Why do we have to do it? What are we getting for it? There are so many other platforms nowadays. It's a relic of the past, and unfortunately, it's a left-wing relic of the past. Why do we need it?
Yeah, you're exactly right. You know, back in the 60s, most families had one TV in their home, but now we're in a world where most people have a screen in their pocket. During the hearing, I actually had two iPads and a phone right there in front of me. So the need to get information out, certainly Americans have the ability to consume information. And the idea that the federal government continues to need to fund the Corporation for Public Broadcasting that ends up being the shell that kind of the money's funneled through to eventually get to these organizations. You know, that's certainly in a world where we're trying to put our fiscal house in order. That's certainly a good question that needs to be asked and one that we're answering in the committee.
I mean,
Right.
You know, Eric, among other things, they run ads. It's funny. They raise money by private means. They run ads. I mean, you can look at them. They try to cover them up, but they're ads, okay? At least on PBS. I don't listen to NPR. And here's the thing. I started my career. I riffed on this at the top of the show. You fellas didn't hear it. I started my career on television 46 years ago on the old McNeil-Lehrer news hour.
Well, the question was, should they get public funding? No. Mm-mm. I bet you it's in my other phone. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, you know what? Let me get to this article. We're going to end this. Let's see, that was March. Okay, hold on. We're going to just end this, read this article real quick. Oh, this must be my agenda. Oh, this is my agenda 2030. Yeah, this is the United Nations. Oh, I didn't know I had. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so this article is basically that NPR failed to cover the Hunter Biden laptop, and we all know that, and she testified to that because they're a left-leaning public entity. NPR Wednesday finally admitted that it made a mistake in failing to promptly cover Hunter Biden laptop scandal as the left-leaning broadcaster fights to keep its federal funding, in which they lost. So I'm just going to delete this. There's no need to go over this. Like, share, subscribe. Oh, that got rid of a whole bunch of stuff. Hit the like button, y'all. Love y'all. All right, I'll be right back because I'm coming with something else.